Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Hope you're all well. In today's video I'm going to be showing you how to make this really cute beaded strawberry. So on my channel I've already got a tutorial for 3 other strawberries. Let me zoom in on them so you can see the difference. So if you want to check those out, they're on my channel, and I've made a playlist of beaded strawberries, so you can go and check those out for these different shapes. And today I'm going to be showing you how to make this one, which is a bit rounder. And let's get started. So to make one of these strawberries you will need some seed beads, red seed beads in size 11. You can do this in size 8 as well if you want it a bit bigger. You'll also need some white seed beads in the same size and some green, same size also. You will need your beading thread. I'm using 6-pound fireline because it holds the shape of the strawberry really well, and a beading needle. That's everything, so let's get started. So to begin with, you're going to thread your needle, and then I'm just going to add in all the white beads randomly and just making sure that no two are touching. And so if you want to follow exactly how I do it, I'm going to tell you to pick up red or white beads. But if you want to add less white beads, then you can do that. Just pick up a red bead instead of a white one when I tell you to. So yeah, you can just add them in randomly, or you can follow exactly how I'm doing it. So I'm going to start by picking up 4 beads. I'm going to pick up 2 red, 1 white, and 1 red, like that. And I'm going to slide those down. I'm just leaving that much, just a few inches. And then I'm going to sew up through the first bead, which is a red bead. So you have this little unit, little cross. We're going to add 1 bead in between each of those that we just added. I'm just going to start by picking up a white bead. Coming out of this red one, I'm going to go straight into the next one. So that white bead just pops into place there. Then I'm going to pick up a red bead, go straight into the next white bead. I'm going to pick up another red bead. Coming out of the white one, I'm going to go straight down through that red bead next to it. And finally I'm going to pick up a white bead. So I'm coming out of this red bead here. This is the last bead in the row, so I'm going to go through the next red bead as always, and I'm going to step up into that white bead that we first added in this row, like that. And you should have this. This time we're going to be putting 2 beads in between those 4 that we added on the corners. So I'm going to start by picking up 2 red beads. Coming out of this white one on this corner, I'm going to go through that red one on the top. So what you're doing is, I'm coming out of this one, skipping over that one underneath and going through the next one on the corner. Picking up 2 this time, remember. So they pop into place there. I'm going to do the same again. I'm going to pick up 2 red beads. This time I'm coming out of this one. I'm going to skip the white one underneath to go through that next red bead on the corner. This time I'm going to pick up a white bead, then a red bead. Coming out of this one, I'm going to skip over one and go through the next one on the corner, which is a white bead. And for the last 2 of the row, I'm going to pick up 2 red beads. I'm coming out of this white one, I'm going to skip over one, and I'm going to go through that next white bead. Now that's the end of the row. As you can see, there's no more gaps to fill. We're going to step up through that bead that's right above the one we're coming out of. We're coming out of this white one, and that red bead is diagonally above it. I'm going to go through that one. Now you've got this, it's sort of like a chubby cross. So for this row you're going to be adding a bead in between those groups of 2 that we added in the last row. You're going to be putting a bead in the middle of those, and also in the spaces between those as well. So we're in between this group of 2 here, and I'm going to pick up a white bead, and I'm coming out of this one, I'm going to go straight down into the one next to it. So I have this, I'm going to pick up another white bead. Now I'm coming out of this bead here, skip that one underneath, go through the next one that's on the top row. So now you can see my threads coming out between that next group of 2 that we added in the row below. I'm going to pick up a red bead this time, and I'm going to go straight down into the next bead. Pick up another red bead. Coming out of this one, I'm going to skip the one underneath, go through the next one, which is this white bead here. Now we're between that group of 2, I'm going to pick up a red bead this time. So you're coming out of this white one, you're going to go straight into that one right next to it. Again, I'm going to pick up a red bead. I'm coming out of this one, I'm going to skip that white one underneath and go through the next one. I'm going to pick up a white bead this time, and I'm coming out of this red one here, I'm going to go straight down into the one next to it. Then this is the last bead of the row, I'm going to pick up a red bead, I'm coming out of this red one here, I'm going to skip that white one which is in the row below, go through this red one and step up into that first white bead that we added in this row. So I'm going through the red bead and the white one. I should have this. So now we're going to do 2 rows of regular peyote stitch. So that means you're coming out of a bead, skipping over, picking up a bead, skipping over one and going through the next one. So I'm going to start by picking up a red bead, and I'm coming out of this white one. I'm going to skip that one underneath, go through the next one, which is in the outer row, which is this white bead. Just like that. Don't worry if there's a gap there now. When we've done the whole row, we're going to pull it tight and it's going to start to close up. Next, I'm going to pick up another red bead. This time I'm coming out of the white one, I'm going to skip the one underneath, go through the next one on the outer row. This time I'm going to pick up a white bead. Coming out of this one, skip that one underneath and go through the next one. Red bead this time, coming out of this one, skip the white one which is underneath, go through the next red one. This time I'm going to pick up a white bead, I'm coming out of this red one, skip that one underneath and go through the next one. Pick up a red bead and go through the next one on the outer row, which is this white bead. Pick up another red, coming out of the white one, you go through that next red one on the outside, so skip the red one underneath, go through the next. Pick up another red, coming out of this one, skip the one underneath and go through the next one, which happens to be this white bead, and that's the last one in the row. You can see there's the bead that we added at the start of this row, so there's no space to add any more. That's how you know you're at the end of the row. So we're going to step up into that next bead. Now you're going to pull it tight. You can put your finger inside it like that. Pull it really tight. It should just start to close up a little bit. Okay, so now we're going to do another row of the same thing. So we're just picking up one bead each time. So I'm going to start with a red. I'm going to skip over the one underneath, which will probably be easier to see on your piece, that there should be beads that stick up and ones that sit lower. So we're coming out of this red one, we're going to skip the white one, go through the next one. Then I'm going to do another red, I'm going to skip the one underneath and go through the next one. I'm going to do another red, coming out of this white one, skip the one underneath and go through the next one. Another red, coming out here, going to skip the one underneath and go through the next one. Another red, coming out of this white one, skip that one underneath and go through the next. And another red. So we're coming out of this one, skip that white one, go through the next red bead. This time I'm going to pick up a white bead. So we're coming out here, going to skip the one underneath, go through the next one on the top row. This time red, skip the one underneath, go through the next one in the top row, which is this one. And that means we're at the end of the row because, as you can see, there's a bead right here in our way, so there's no more gaps to fill. So you're also going to step up into that bead as well. So you're coming out of this one, you're skipping that white one underneath, you're going through the next red one and the one above it as well. And then you're going to do the same thing, put your finger like inside it and pull it really tight. And you should have this. So this time we're going to add groups of 2 in between each bead. We're going to start by picking up a red and a white. And we're coming out of this bead here. Going to skip the one underneath and go through the next one on the top row. Like that. This time I'm going to pick up 2 red beads. See if I can turn it that way, you might see better. So you're coming out of this red one, you're going to skip that one, go through the next one on the top row. Make sure it doesn't get hooked. Now I'm going to pick up a white and a red. Skip the one underneath, go through the next one on the top row. This time picking up 2 red beads. Coming out here, we're going to skip the white one underneath and go through the next red bead. This time I'm going to pick up a white and a red, go through the next bead on the top row. This time pick up 2 red beads and go through the next one on the top row, which is this white bead. And don't worry if it looks like they're not all going to fit and it's coming out of shape. It's going to be fine once we add the next row. Now you're going to pick up 2 red beads, coming out of the white one, skip the one underneath, go through the next one on the top row. And here I'm about to add the last 2. So I'm coming out of here, I'm going to pick up a white and a red. I'm going to skip that one underneath, go through the next one like always. Like that. Make sure that they don't get twisted. And then I'm going to step up through the next 2. That was the first group of 2 that we added in that row. So through this red and white bead. And again, pull tight. You should have this, it will look a bit like wobbly and a bit misshaped, but it's all going to come together. This row we're going to be adding 1 bead again, but we're going to be going through the groups of 2 as if they are 1 bead. We're not going to be putting a bead in between them this time. So I'm going to pick up a red bead to start with. I'm coming out of this white one here, skip one underneath and go through the next 2 beads. Okay, I'm going to pick up another red bead. As you can see, as it starts to cup up, it's easy if you hold your thumb inside it like this. Keeps it steady. I'm going to pick up another red bead, and I'm coming out here, and I'm going to skip the one underneath. I don't know if you can see that. Here we go. I'm coming out of here, I'm going to skip that one underneath and go through the next 2 beads. There. This time I'm picking up a white bead, and I'm coming out here, skip that one underneath. Sometimes the gaps are so small you just need to pay attention and make sure you're going through the next group of 2. So like that. You can kind of see when you look on your piece where the groups of 2 are that you added in the row below. This time I'm going to pick up a red bead. I'm coming out here, I'm going to skip that one underneath, go through the next 2 on the top row. Picking up a white bead this time and go through the next 2 on the top row. This time picking up a red bead, skipping over that white one and going through the following 2 red beads. Picking up a red again and go through the next 2 on the top row. I'm going to do white bead this time, and I'm going to go through the next 2 on the top row, which is actually the last 2. And you can see that it's the last 2 because that next gap is already filled. So go through those last 2 and then step up into that bead. Now coming at this white one, you're going to go up into that one diagonally above. And I'm going to turn it back over and pull it tight. And you should have this. So for this row, we're adding groups of 2 again. So we've got these single beads that we added in the row below that are sticking up, if you can see that. Got these single beads that sit higher, and then you've got the groups of 2 below. You're going to be going through these single beads and adding groups of 2 here in these spaces, and they're going to stack above those groups of 2 below. Okay, so I'm going to start with, let's see, a red and a white, and let's see, I'm coming out of this red bead here, so I'm going to skip over those 2 underneath and go through the next red bead, the next single bead on the top row, pull it down, and those 2 that we just added stack above the 2 below. Okay, so then I'm going to do 2 red. I'm going to skip the 2 underneath and go through the next single bead, which is a white one this time. And then I'm going to do red and white. Coming out of this white bead, I'm going to skip the 2 underneath and go through the next single bead. This time I'm going to do 2 red and go through the next single bead, which is a white one. This time I'll do 2 red. Don't want too many white all in one place. So I'm coming out of this white one, I'm going to skip those 2 red ones and go through the next single bead. And this time I'll do white and red. Coming out here, I'm going to skip the 2 underneath, go through the next single red bead. This time we'll do 2 red beads. I'm going to skip those 2 underneath and go through the next white bead. Okay, so this is the last 2 of the round, so we're going to pick up 2 red beads for the last 2. Coming out of this white one, I'm going to skip the 2 underneath and go through that next single bead. Right there. Pull that through, Now you need to step up. So you're coming out of a single bead here, and you're going to step up through these 2 beads, the first 2 you added in this row. Go through those, turn it over and pull it tight. Now we've got this and it's starting to curve up nicely. So for this next row, I'm going to be doing the same thing we did 2 rows ago. So we've got these groups of 2 that we added in the row below. We're going to be treating them as if they're 1 bead and putting a single bead in between them. So I'm going to pick up 1 red bead. I'm coming out of these 2 here. Let's do it this way. Coming out of these 2 here, I'm going to skip that one underneath and go through the next 2 on the top row. Through those 2. So there we have it. I'm going to turn it this way again. I think it's easier to see. Now I'm going to pick up another red bead, and I'm coming out of these 2. I'm going to skip that white one underneath and go through the following 2 beads. Pick up another red bead. Coming out of this white one, I'm going to skip that single red bead underneath and go through the 2 red beads above. This time another red bead. We're going to skip that white bead underneath and go through the next 2 red beads. Okay, another red bead here. We're going to skip that red one underneath, go through the white one and the red one. Going to be picking up a white bead this time. Coming out here, we're going to skip that one underneath. Ooh. Going to skip the one underneath and go through the next 2 beads. Going to pick up a red bead this time, skip the white one underneath, go through the next 2 red beads. And feel free to zoom ahead and keep doing that all the way around if you want to, but I'm going to keep showing you on here, and you can fast forward if you need to. I'm going to keep showing you all the way around just so you can follow my colour pattern if you want to. So then we're going to pick up a white bead. Coming out here, I'm going to skip that red one underneath and go through the next 2. Oh, we're at the end of the row anyway. But you can skip ahead next time if you need to. So go through those last 2, and then here we are coming out of this white one. You need to step up into that next single bead, which is diagonally above. Flip it back up the right way and pull tight. So we've got this. So now we're going to be doing the same thing again that we did 2 rows ago. So we're going to be picking up 2 beads each time and stacking them on top of the 2 below again. Going through just the single beads this time. We're going to start with a white and a red. Coming out of this red bead here, skip the 2 underneath and go through that next single bead. This time picking up 2 red beads, skip those 2 underneath and go through that next singular bead. See those 2 stack on top of the 2s below. This time we'll do white and red. Skip the 2 underneath and go through that next single bead. This time again we'll do white and red. Skip the 2 red underneath and go through that next red bead. Now we'll do 2 red, skip the 2 underneath and go through that next bead, which is a white one. We'll do red and white this time. Coming out of the white one, you're going to skip those 2 and go through that next single bead. This time we'll do 2 red beads. Going to skip those 2 underneath and go through the next one, which is a white one. Okay, so the last two of the row, I'm going to do 2 red beads. Coming out of this white one, you're going to skip those 2 underneath, go through that next single red bead right there, and then you're going to step up through the next 2 beads. Okay, so you're coming out of that single bead right there, you're going to step up through the next 2 beads. Flip it over again and pull it tight. Okay, so now we're going to do that row again where we pick up 1 bead and go through the groups of 2. So let's start with a white bead. Pick up 1 white bead, you're coming out here, you're going to skip that single bead underneath and go through the next 2 beads. Okay, and that's what we're going to do all the way around this time. So this time picking up a red, skip the one underneath and go through the next 2. Picking up another red, skip the one underneath and go through the next 2 beads. This time we'll pick up a white bead. We're going to skip that one underneath and go through the next 2. Now we'll pick up a red bead, skip that white one, go through the next group of 2. We'll do red this time, skip the one underneath, go through the next 2. We're going to go red again, going to skip that white one, go through the next 2 red beads, and red again, going to skip that one underneath, going to go through the next 2, which is this red and white one, and that's the last 2 in the row. So I'm coming out of that red one there, I'm going to step up into that next single bead, which is this white bead just here. So I'm coming out there, step up into that one, flip it over and pull it tight. And now you should have this, which is a really cute strawberry shape coming along. I'm going to start by picking up a red, and we're going to be bringing it in now. So we've got those groups of 2 where we were stacking 2 each time. This time we're just going to be adding 1, and that's going to close it in. So you're going to pick up 1 bead, 1 red bead, you're coming out of this white one here, skip over the 2 underneath and go through the next one, which is this red one. Let me flip over again. Okay. And don't worry about all this space here. When we pull it tight at the end, it's going to all close in, so don't worry about that right now. Next is another red bead. Here we're coming out of this one, we're going to skip the 2 underneath and go through the next single bead. Turn it round, going to do red again. You're going to skip those 2 underneath, go through the next one, which is this white bead here. Okay, this time I'll do red. So we're coming out the white one, we're going to skip those 2 underneath, go through the next single red bead. Red again, skip the 2 underneath, go through the next single red bead. Ooh, this time we'll do white. Coming out here, we're going to skip those 2 red beads and go through the next one. We'll do white again. So we're coming out here, we're going to skip the 2 red and go through the next single bead. This time we'll do red. Coming out here, we're going to skip those 2, and this is the last one of the row, so you're going to go through the white one. So now you're coming out of this white one and you're going to step up into this one here that's sort of floating backwards and forwards. Going to step up into that next red one. Turn it over, and this time you're going to want to pull it really tight. Pull it really tight, make sure it all starts to close up. Like this. Okay, so for this next row, we're going to be putting 1 bead in between those single beads we added in the last row. It's going to get a little tight, but that's okay, it'll all work out. So we're going to start by adding one red bead. Coming out of this red one here, we're going to skip the one underneath and go through that next one, which is on the topmost row. Then you're going to pick up a white bead. Coming out here, we're going to skip that one underneath and go through the next one. Oops. Okay, now we're going to pick up a red. Going to skip the white one underneath, go through the next red bead. I'm going to do white this time. So coming out here, we're going to skip that red one underneath and go through the next single bead. Pick up a red bead, you're going to go through the next one on the top row, which is this white one. Another red, and you're going to go through the next one on the top row, which is another white bead. Going to do red this time. Skip the one underneath, go through the next one. And last one of the row, we're going to pick up a red one. You're going to skip that white one underneath and go through the next red one, like that. And also you're going to go up into the red one above, so you're going through the next red one as always and into the one above that, and pull it tight. So this time we're going to pick up one. Okay, we're coming out here, we're going to skip the one underneath, go through the next white one, like that. Now, without picking up another bead, we're going to skip the one underneath and go through the next red one. When you pull it tight at the end, that's going to bring those beads together. Now we're going to pick up another red bead, skip the one underneath, go through the next white one, and then again, without picking up another bead, you're going to skip the one underneath, go through the next red one, picking up a red bead again, skip that white one underneath, go through the next red one, and without picking up a bead, skip the white one, go through the next red one. Last one we're going to pick up is a red bead. You're going to skip that one underneath, go through the next one, and then without picking up a bead, you're going to skip that one underneath, go through the next one, and the one above, like that. Now you're going to pull that tight. You should have this. Okay, so now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 beads. They're our working beads, they're our top row. You're going to put one in between each of those. I'm just going to do 4 red because it's going to get covered by the green anyway. So I'm going to pick up one, and coming out of this one, you're going to skip 2 and go through the next red one, like that. Pick up another red one, you're going to skip the next 2 and go through that next red bead. Pick up another red one, you're coming out of this one, skip those 2, go through the next red one which is on the side, and finally pick up your last red bead. Coming out of here, you're going to skip those 2 there and go through this one on the bottom. Just like that. Pull it tight. Now you're coming out of this one, you're going to step up into that one next in the circle. Okay, and now you're going to circle through the top 4 beads. If you turn it this way, you'll be able to see which ones sit on the top. So you're going to go through all 4 of those beads. And that's the main part of the strawberry finished. Okay, so we're going to add some leaves now on the top, or some greenery. So you should be coming out of this bead on the bottom. I'm going to try and keep it facing this way so you can figure out where you are on your piece. You've got your 4 beads in the centre, top side, bottom side. We're coming out the bottom one. Going to Pick up one green bead and go into the side bead, into that next one in the centre circle. Pick up another green one. Now you're coming out this one, you're going to go into the one on the top. Pick up another green bead. You're coming out the one on the top, you're going to go down through the next one, which is the one on the side. Another green. Now you're coming out the side bead, you're going to go through that bottom one that we started from. Okay, now you've got this, you're going to go up into that green bead that we first added. Now you're going to pick up 7 green beads, and you're going to go back into the green bead that you're coming out of on the opposite side. So I'm coming out of this side, I'm going to go into it on the other side, like that. Now you're going to sew down through these 3 beads on the side, go through the first 3. Then you're going to skip the 4th one, ignore that, and you're going to go up through the last 3 on the other side. So don't go through the 4th one. And not going through that one makes it pop out and makes more of a point. So we have this, then you're going to go back through that green bead that they're connected to. Pick up 1 green bead and go through the next green one in the circle. And then you're going to add a leaf in the same way. Then you're going to pick up another single green bead, go into the next one in the circle. Going to add a leaf the same way, do the same thing, and do that all the way around until you've added 4 leaves and filled in all 4 spaces with a bead, and then we'll tie our knots. Okay, so once you've done that, then that's the strawberry finished. This is what it looks like. You could add a little loop of beads here if you wanted to attach it to a keyring or earrings, or you could put a head pin straight through the middle there. There's a little hole and it would come out the top. So now all you need to do is tie your threads off, tie some knots and cut them off, or sew through until it's secure and cut them, and that's it finished. That's our finished strawberries. I think these are really cute little chubby strawberries, and I hope you enjoyed it and you were able to make one of these. And remember to check out my other strawberry videos if you haven't already. So there's a tiny little one which is cute. There's this one which is more of a realistic shape of a strawberry. And then there's the crystal one as well with bicones. So check those out and let me know if you enjoyed this one. And comment down below what else you'd like to see, and subscribe to see more of my videos, and follow me on Instagram at Beading by Hannah. Thanks so much for watching as always. See you next time. Bye!